PhDs, baby!
Hey Health Matters! My colleagues and I heard about your interest in addressing health disparities of unidentified Native American populations in the United States. We believe you are pursuing a noble and just cause, and in order to help you work toward your goal in an effective manner, we want to present the opinions of some experts who might help guide your efforts. First, we're going to hear from Dr. Coblin, a historical anthropologist who specializes in Native American populations.
Dr. Coblin, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Now, as a historical anthropologist, can you provide some insight into the development of health disparities among Native Americans that Health Matters should consider in their initiative?
Of course. So what we're seeing with the Native American populations is an effect of the lifestyle change they experienced when the United States began expanding westward. Their sudden change in diet and stress levels was directly affected by the way the United States government took land and what they were giving the Native Americans in return. So the United States was giving Native American populations subsidized food, but it was all over-industrialized to be really high in calories, and after so many years of living on an agriculturally based diet, their whole lifestyle was being turned on its head. From something that was generally very healthy to something that was more of a fast-release sugar-type foods. And then in addition to that, the chronicity theory is illustrating why these Native American populations are the populations that were initially displaying diabetes as an epidemic. So this is a whole population that was put into fabricated communities under extreme levels of stress, and it was kind of the first time it had ever happened. So the stress paired with the new diets led to a group of people who weren't being healthy the way that they had been in the past. And as this went on, it led to a group of people who were very well set up to develop adult onset diabetes.
Thank you so much.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you so much for joining us. As a medical anthropologist, how do you think healthcare should be approached so that the issue of health disparities can be addressed?
Well, healthcare is a socially and culturally complex phenomenon that extends beyond the biological aspects that are traditionally associated with it. This is mostly because care for most of the prevalent epidemic diseases like diabetes is provided outside of a biomedical setting. So in order to address healthcare disparities, it is essential to first understand where population primarily receives its care and the social and cultural dynamics at play with it. For example, in a Native American population in Chicago facing epidemic rates of diabetes, care is provided through a multi-sphere consideration that extends from individual households to community-wide interactions. The social and cultural interplay that exists for providing care has influences on how disease spreads. Within Chicago's Native population, diabetes is something introduced at a young age through first observing adult diabetes and then engaging in care for the adults as well. So apart from assistance from friends and family, diabetes within the Native population is considered at the community level by event organizers who always provide diabetic options on their menus and activities. And so although this strengthens the intertribal network within their community, it also risks normalizing the disease. So in this situation, no amount of biomedical activities will address the diabetes epidemic in the Native population until we also address the cultural construct behind diabetes. And this shows why we need to use a medical anthropological approach in order to make an effective change that addresses healthcare disparities.
Thank you so much.
So much for joining us. How do you believe health is linked to culture and human behavior, and why should this be considered when addressing health disparities?
Well, Dr. Reddy, this so-called fat phenotype has not been linked to any specific gene, and thus obesity and its accompanying array of health concerns must be linked to a larger cultural and behavioral issue. As we gather data on those affected by diabetes and obesity, we see trends into gender, ethnic groups, and socioeconomic status. The course of human history, through its numerous famines and consistent high-movement lifestyle, has biologically shaped us to adapt for survivability in certain conditions. But suddenly, that is not the norm within an industrialized society, and the result has been large amounts of chronic disease and psychological pain. We must pay attention to these rising trends in obesity and its link to culture and behavior, as this is crucial when affecting change. When obesity is so closely linked to things like socioeconomic status and ethnicity, we cannot simply address the disease as a disease, but rather treat the society as a whole and its link to the illness. There certainly is a genetic and biomedical component to our current state as products of evolution, but the profound effect that culture has on health can be changed as habit can be changed. There's hope.
Thank you so much, Dr. Casson. That was amazing.
Thank you for having me.
We hope our little spiel helps you better guide your work. Remember, human biology is not just an isolated field. Consider all anthropological perspectives. In this case, health disparities don't just come from certain genes, but can be formed by culture and traditions, as well as diverse diets and exercise patterns that can arise from varying socioeconomic statuses. Historical, cultural, environmental, biological, and medical anthropology all offer unique perspectives in tackling issues surrounding health disparities, and understanding their distinct connections can bring us closer to resolving these problems.